A landmark Lancet study just confirmed that ultra-processed foods may damage nearly every major organ in your body. But here's the part nobody's talking about. They're deliberately engineered to make stopping almost impossible, and willpower has almost nothing to do with it. Think about the last time you told yourself you'd just have one handful of chips, or one cookie, or just a few bites of that frozen mac and cheese, and then somehow the whole bag was gone. You probably blamed yourself. Most people do. But what if the failure wasn't yours? What if the food itself was designed to override your brain's off switch? That's exactly what the science is now showing, and by the end of this video, you'll understand the specific biological mechanism that makes ultra-processed foods so hard to stop eating, why most diet advice completely misses this, and the one practical shift that actually works. Stick around for that last point, because it changes everything about how you approach this. So first, let's set the stage. Ultra-processed foods. We're talking chips, packaged pastries, fast food, flavored yogurts, breakfast cereals, frozen meals, and basically anything with an ingredient list that reads like a chemistry textbook, now make up more than 60% of the average American's daily calories. That number has been climbing for decades, and the 2024 Lancet review, which analyzed data from over 10 million people across 45 countries, found associations between ultra-processed food consumption and increased risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, depression, gut disorders, and even early mortality. Nearly every major system. That's not a small finding. That's a global health emergency. But here's the open question I want to plant right now. If we know this food is wrecking our health, why can't we just stop? We'll get to the biological answer in a moment, and it's stranger and more alarming than most people expect. Let's start with what makes ultra-processed food different from, say, a piece of real cheese or a homemade cookie. It's not just the calories or the sugar, it's the combination. Food scientists call it hyperpalatability, the deliberate engineering of foods to hit precise ratios of salt, sugar, and fat that no naturally occurring food ever achieves. A plain apple is sweet, a plain piece of chicken has fat and protein, but a Dorito? It's engineered to hit a bliss point, a specific sensory balance that your brain finds overwhelming in the best possible way. It lights up your dopamine system harder than almost any whole food can. And here's the key, it does it fast. The ultra-refined texture means it breaks down almost instantly in your mouth, flooding your taste receptors before your gut hormones even have time to signal fullness. So you keep eating, not because you're weak, because the timing is rigged. Now here's where it gets genuinely scary. And this is the first open loop I'm closing.
The more you eat these foods, the more your dopamine system adapts. It downregulates, meaning it produces fewer dopamine receptors in response to the reward. This is the exact same mechanism seen in substance addiction research. Your brain starts to need more of the stimulus just to feel normal. Whole foods start to taste bland by comparison. A piece of fruit that used to satisfy you barely registers. Your reward system has been recalibrated, and this doesn't happen over years. Some research suggests measurable changes in reward sensitivity can begin within weeks of a high ultra-processed diet. And this is where willpower completely falls apart as a strategy. You are not fighting cravings. You are fighting a neurologically compromised reward system that has been deliberately exploited by a multi-billion-dollar industry that employs food scientists specifically to find your breaking point. Telling someone to just use more discipline in that situation is like telling someone with a sprained ankle to just walk it off. The advice misses the actual problem. Let's talk about gut bacteria for a second, because this is the part of the story that most diet content skips, and it matters enormously. Your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your digestive tract, communicates directly with your brain through something called the gut-brain axis. Specific strains of gut bacteria actually produce signals that influence your cravings and mood. Ultra-processed foods, which are typically low in fiber and high in additives like emulsifiers and artificial sweeteners, actively deplete the bacterial strains that produce satisfaction signals. They feed the strains that increase inflammation and anxiety. So when you eat ultra-processed food regularly, you're not just changing your dopamine system in your brain, you're changing the bacterial ecosystem that helps regulate your hunger and your mood from the inside out. The cravings you feel, some of them are literally coming from your gut flora, sending distress signals to your brain. This is not metaphorical. This is neurogastroenterology. So now we have two systems compromised, your brain's reward circuitry and your gut microbiome, both pushing you toward more of the exact food that damaged them. That's the loop. That's why this is so hard to break with intention alone. Here's the third piece, and this is the most surprising one. It's about environment, not biology. Research from Cornell's Food and Brand Lab, and more recently from behavioral studies out of the UK, shows that the physical and social environment you eat in predicts food choices more powerfully than hunger levels or stated dietary intentions. Translation: you could be highly motivated to eat well, fully aware of the risks, and still eat ultra-processed food, simply because it's visible, convenient, and socially normalized around you.
The brain's decision-making system under mild stress or fatigue defaults to what requires the least friction. Ultra-processed food wins that contest every single time because the food industry has spent decades making sure it does. It's at the checkout line. It's in the vending machine. It's in the office break room. Availability is the strategy. And this means that fighting this battle with motivation and knowledge is almost always going to lose to a well-stocked pantry of easy junk. So what actually works? This is the practical takeaway. 2 things you can do today that are backed by the behavioral science. First, don't try to use willpower to resist. Instead, use friction to block. Remove ultra-processed foods from your immediate environment, your desk, your car, your kitchen counter. Don't rely on yourself to make a good decision in a weak moment. Make the bad choice physically harder to access and the good choice physically easier. Put a bowl of fruit on your counter. Keep cut vegetables at eye level in your fridge. This sounds almost embarrassingly simple, but the research consistently shows it outperforms intention-based strategies by a significant margin. Second, start the microbiome repair. You don't have to overhaul your entire diet tomorrow, but adding 1 high-fiber food per day, a handful of lentils, some oats, an apple, a serving of sauerkraut, begins feeding the bacterial strains that produce the signals your brain needs to feel genuine satisfaction from real food. This is a slow rebuild, but studies show meaningful shifts in gut composition can happen in as little as 2 to 4 weeks with consistent fiber intake. You're not just changing what you eat, you're retraining your biology to make the cravings less loud. Here's the bottom line. Ultra-processed food addiction isn't a character flaw. It is a biological and environmental trap, engineered by design and confirmed by some of the largest nutritional research ever conducted. The solution isn't more discipline. It's restructuring your environment and repairing your biology, starting today with 1 small change. If this shifted how you see the food on your counter, drop a comment below. I want to know what you're doing differently after watching this. Like this video if it gave you something real to work with, and subscribe for more evidence-based health content every week. We've got a lot more coming.